welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here. Thanks again. We're having a wonderful time here. We're going to do some drawing, pencil drawing and pen drawing. And these are just our basic exercises that we're going to work on to sharpen up our drawing skills. So what I like to do is just maybe take a few things. It doesn't matter. It could be anything: pen, pencil, roll of tape, spritzer bottle, maybe our palettes we can draw. We can basically draw anything we like. And if you're trying to get in your 10 or 15 minutes every day, we wouldn't be getting anything like a large vase of flowers or, some really intricate subject matter that's going to be very difficult. We want simple items that we can just draw. Maybe we'll draw this tape dispenser too as well, so we can have fun. We pick up just maybe one or two things, and that's 10 or 15 minutes right there, and then we're good. So let's try a few different things. I thought the first thing that would be fun would be a paintbrush. So I have one here. Let me see, which one did I think I just had one here. And I might have, I'm trying to think where okay, here it is. So I'm gonna have my paintbrush here, and maybe I'll take a small piece of tape and then just maybe roll it around a few times so that it's the sticky side is out, and then I'll just put it onto the paper over here so that I can just have it so it doesn't roll off the paper, because I'm on a little bit of an incline here. My working table is about on a 15% angle, so it's not level. It's actually tipped back towards me just a little bit. So that's always nice to have that little bit of angle on your board that you're working on, or even your sketchbook, whatever you're working on. If you have a little bit of angle on it, it's just better that way. It's more comfortable to draw with a little bit of an angle on your board. And then too, when you paint, the paint will flow down a little bit, so that's good. And you can always, they have tables, art tables that you have that you can adjust and make them very, very steep angles if you want to have your paint flowing down faster, or if you want to draw at a table and you want the table up very steep. They make tables. They make little small table easels too that you can buy that are adjustable. I have one here somewhere in the studio. Maybe next time we'll look at that and try it out and see how it works. But this is fine. Just my normal YouTube studio here, my studio table that I work on. And I'm going to put this paintbrush down and let's draw this. And I'll use a pencil, a retractable Pentel 0.9 millimeter pencil. Retractable pencil. So you just click on the top of the pencil, and you have fresh pencil lead all the time to draw. So it's quick and easy. So let's try this here. The first thing I notice is it's pretty much a very simple kind of a shape. It's just a long cylinder basically. And you can always, if you want, you can take a ruler and put it onto your paper and just draw a very, very super light line across, just to sort of like have a very faint line across your paper, so you'll be able to stay on that line pretty close to it anyway. And that's something you can do to help kind of keep your angle going in the straight direction. But we're not going to use that line. Maybe we can start on that line. Maybe we'll start this top edge of this pencil here, this top edge paintbrush. Maybe we'll draw this top edge first here where the plastic handle is. And then we'll move in here and do the ferrule, the nickel ferrule here, the metal ferrule, and then the brush tip here, the brush hairs. So let's try it that way. And then maybe we'll work our way back around and come this way toward the bottom area of the brush and work this way. Or maybe we'll kind of just pretend it's like a trip, and we're going to make a trip through the drawing. And, you can start somewhere and then come over here and maybe do, something a little different. But I think the top edge first would probably work best for right now. And then later on you can try different methods. So the first thing I will do is I'm just going to start off here and just make the cylinder like so. So I'm seeing a little bit of the butt end of the brush here. And then I'm just going to slowly go up. And now here's another thing. Before I start and I completely start drawing first, let me just take one observation of this brush. The brush is overall this size here. Now, if we were to look at this and say, well, where is the halfway point on this brush? Just, like a average. The halfway point's about right here. It happens to be where the brush screws together in the plastic section. So we could say that the area that this travel brush screws together is about the halfway point there. That seam, there's a slight seam there. I don't know if you can see that. I apologize. I think I forgot to put my other light on here. There we go. That might help a little bit. You might be able to see the seam on here. But anyway, that would be the halfway point. So approximately, let's see how close that is to halfway. And you can always get a ruler and just say, let me double check. We can double check things. So the brush overall is 7.5 inches or 7.5 inches. Now, if we were to say, what's half of 7.5? Half of 7 is 3.5. So right here at 3.5 is approximately halfway. And that's where that seam is on the plastic, where the brush screws together, travel brush. This part here, we screw this part off, and then we push it back into this plastic part here, and it connects together with these threads here. So these are travel brushes. You can find travel brushes online. There's all kinds of great travel brushes out there. So since this is about halfway, so we know a little bit past halfway is going to be where this plastic piece pretty much stops, and then the metal ferrule of the brush starts, and then it goes out to here where the brush hairs are. So you can, in the beginning, if you're tentative in the beginning of where things are as far as the start and stop points of the different sections of any kind of subject matter, could be a pen, pencil, could be a ruler. You might be drawing a ruler. You might be drawing a paintbrush, another style paintbrush, whatever it is. We'll be drawing this. You can do observations and say, okay, well, maybe we can just do the same size right over here. So 7.5 inches on here is here. So you can do this too. You can go 7.5. That's the very, very tip of your brush hairs right there. And then we said that 4.5, we said, well, we're actually going to scale this right now, so we don't have to worry. We're going to go 5 inches this way. 5 inches is this way, is this point right here where the end of the plastic is. So then we say that's the end of the plastic there. And then the brush hair is 1 inch. So we can spin the ruler around and say, okay, 1 inch there. That's the brush hairs. So now here we have the hash marks going right on down the line here of the travel brush here. And you'll see that we have the plastic all the way to here. Then we made another hash mark where the hairs, the watercolor brush hairs start right here. And then the tip of the watercolor brush right there. So that's it. We have the whole thing sort of planned out. We measured it exact, so we're going to actually be drawing the exact same size brush in our drawing right here. By just simply, we use our ruler, and we do this in more logical fashion here, so we can really get it accurate. Later on, maybe after you've been practicing for maybe six months to a year, you might probably try it without the ruler, let's say, or you don't even have to use the ruler to begin with if you don't want to. That's all fine. I'm just suggesting things that these are things that I sometimes do. You can actually custom, you're the artist, you create things the way you like to. Here I'm already starting to do some small lines, or you can just go straight across like this. And then I'm starting to see that this portion of the brush is right here, and it's pretty much a straight line. Not too much curve to it. I can put some curve on it if I want to accentuate the cylindrical fashion of this. And there we have it. And then over here we have the threaded portion of this, like that. And then from there, the metal ferrule. So we go down like so. Like that. Might have got a little bit out of shape there. And most times I'm not going to get too fussy and nitpick on myself. I mean, normally I'd just leave it the way it is like that, but you can always, if you find you did create a line that wasn't so great, I'm trying to break out some of my, I try to keep my erasers moist and soft, and it's not working too good, so I think I'm going to not really use this method anymore, but experimentation is good. Always good to try different things. So these kneaded erasers, sometimes they get dried out after a while, so I'm just going to erase that line there quick, and then I'll just try to making that a little bit thinner there, you can see, like so. And then we can do the brush hair, like so. And then we can even make another line here for a shadow, like that. I see a shadow, a bit of light over here, and then this is a little darker. You can shade in some areas to give it light and shadow, make it more interesting. And then the brush hairs here, you can add some brush hairs to that if you like that. And then this is actually dark black, so we can actually do that too if we want to. We can shade this in. Now to shade this in if we want to, instead of using pencil, which is fine, you can use your retractable pencil, but I also have with me all the time my China marker. So this China marker is or you can use even a dark B pencil, or a China marker works good. Let's use that. And then I'll just look at the plastic area and say it's darker up here, and I see a darker line here in the middle, and it's a little bit lighter on the bottom. And I think what's happening is the light is hitting the paper and bouncing up underneath this bottom portion of the brush, plastic handle of the brush. So that's light, and then this is dark through here, like that. And then we have another bit of light on top too, like that. And then it's dark all the way on top. So you can do some shading if you want. And there we have it. It looks pretty good, and you can even work the shading in over here too as well. That looks like there's the only thing with these China markers, sometimes they're like, it's almost like you're on like it sometimes drifts off. The China markers sometimes drift off when you're using them. For some reason, I guess because it doesn't have a super sharp point, and I guess we could sharpen this point by just on a piece of paper, sharpening it on a piece of paper like this. So we could do that. Or even a very, very light grit sandpaper you could use to sharpen some of your pencils and China markers if you like. Some very, very fine grit sandpaper, almost no grit to it, but there's some really super fine, it's called super fine sandpaper you can use on your pencils if you want, or your China markers, and then you can get a nice point, whatever type of point you want on your brush. I mean your pencils, like if you're going to use a regular like office style pencil, or if you're going to use a China marker, or even if you're going to use some charcoal, whatever it is, you can use super fine sandpaper to do some, put some points on your drawing utensils. So I think this is good. I think I'll put a shadow on this too, underneath. So here we'll put a very, very light shadow. Just a hint of a shadow under here like this. And I see that it extends out like so, underneath like that, under the hairs, and like this, and then over here it comes out like so. So you can see I'm just putting a very light shadow there. And it actually extends out here a little bit, the shadow. And that really makes a good effect of just having some shadows on there to give it some three-dimensional feel. All right, so this is our first drawing. Let's do a few more. Let's try, maybe next, we'll try this tape dispenser. This one's really challenging, but we'll see how we do. It's just a matter of trying it a few times, and actually the more times you would attempt this type of a subject matter, drawing this, you would just get better at it naturally, because you're looking at it more, and you're kind of looking and seeing where the angles are and the curves, and all of a sudden, you know, if you draw this maybe 25 times, the first time it's going to look not as good. And obviously if you draw this 25 times, by the 25th time, it's going to look way better because you're more familiar with it. You're looking at it. You're critiquing it as you go. So let's see how we do on our first try. And we'll be right back. I'll just take a quick break and then we'll start up again. Okay, we're getting back started again. I decided let's do a roll of tape. This is a little bit, this is always fun to do a roll of tape. And it's basically, let's see if we could actually get started with the roll of tape itself by just making a circle on the inside. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a circle on the inside and get it started. And then we'll do a dark, now I'm going to do it with a pencil line, my dark pencil line here. This is my retractable pencil. I'm just going to trace over the top, that's all. I'm going to make it simple. So I have a circle. I use this actually to create the circle on the inside. I've got it started. Now I have to look at this and say, okay, I want to make it three-dimensional. So I notice that on the inside here, and I'm looking at it, my camera is picking it up visually different than the way I'm standing behind my camera, so I'm seeing more of like this. I'm seeing more of that angle, where I'm seeing quite a bit of the interior of the roll of tape. But my camera angle is different, so that's why it's going to look probably different here than it is here a little bit, but I'm just going to explain that so you understand, like the way I'm looking at it, it looks like this. And the camera is going to pick it up and I'm going to show no angle to this on the inside. So, but I'll draw it the way I'm seeing it here. So I'm kind of looking at it right away. I'm saying, wow, about halfway, if I divide this roll of tape halfway, I notice that the inside of the tape roll starts about here, where I can see the bottom of the interior section of the roll of tape. And then the same thing about over here. Over here it's about the same. It starts to become visible about there and about here. So I want to get those two starting points first. Now if I get those two starting points first, where I'm looking at it and saying, okay, about halfway across the roll of tape, about slap dap in the middle, I start to see where the bottom portion of this roll starts to become visible. If I tip it like that, you can kind of see. So I put it down here on my paper and say halfway. I see the edges starting to appear here, and then I'm good. And then I say, how much space do I see there? And I can just estimate and say about that much. So now I just have to get these angles here carefully. So I do it lightly first. And if I lightly do it first, like so, then it looks like I have it. That looks very good. So then I'll go over it with the darker line. And now I have my bottom of my roll of tape here. And then now we can go around the outside edge with the tape. And maybe we'll make the tape roll a little thicker. So here, this roll is pretty much, I'll be needing a new roll of that tape soon. So it's, let's just keep working along here. So I'm getting like that cardboard part first. So let me do the cardboard cylinder first. Then I'm going to create another, this will be the tape, the purple tape we have there. And it pretty much looks, I'm making it a little thicker, like so. And I'm just going to try to go right around and just hold that distance the same way all the way around. This takes practice. I've done this many, many, many times. So I'm just trying to maintain that thickness. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's a little bit wider than the first portion of the tape roll. Okay, that's the actual tape. And I did notice too that I start to see, in the same way I saw this inner area of the tape roll, I'm seeing the outer area start about the same way, about there. So now I can see the front. I can see the front of this tape roll here. So I'm just going to start, and I see them starting about that part of the tape, the bottom part of the tape roll. I can see it there, and I think it's about that wide, about the same as this. I can always take this and say, how wide is that? Not quite as big as the cap on this pencil, and then I look over here and say, that looks about right. Then I take this, and again, I'm going to take that radius and just work it like that. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to shade, maybe with a little bit with my pencil. Maybe I'll just do the tape. So I'm just going to do some quick shading over here on the bottom where the tape is. That's like a light purple. Then this purple tape on the top is a little bit darker. And I'm going to follow those lines of the tape the same way my pencil marks are going to go. So it almost just kind of flows around good and looks like it makes sense because it, and I'm swinging my arm around here to get these angles. So sometimes you have to, you can either, this is taped down. Sometimes we can even lift up our paper. Let's try that. We can lift up our paper and then turn it like so. When we're drawing, we can move our paper around. It's sometimes a little more difficult if you have watercolor paper on a board and you have it taped down. Sometimes you might not want to be, I guess there's different ways you can do things always, but this is one option that you always have, is to move your paper around if you want to, when you're drawing, if you want to get something a little more, if you want to render something a little more easily with technique, you know, with your technique of drawing, you can, a lot of artists will move their paper like this around, like this. Okay, so that's pretty good. And if I squint my eyes, the tape is darker. So I might go around and make it a little bit darker, just to fill it in a little bit. This is a fun, isn't this fun? This is a fun exercise just to, you know, we get our practice in, and also too we're practicing shading things. And we learned a new technique of just, and a method of just moving our paper around if we have to. And we're looking at our tonal values of this tape roll. So what is darker, what is lighter? The inside of the tape roll is lighter for the most part. It's mostly white with writing on it. We can actually do a little bit of that detail in there if we'd like to. And here we're doing the tape, the purple tape around the outside of the roll, and then the cardboard is not quite as dark as the, here's the cardboard where the tape is placed onto, rolled onto, and then we have, so this cardboard is lighter, so we make the tape darker. And this is what we're, you know, having fun, and also thinking about accuracy too. Once in a while, let's get accurate. You don't always have to be accurate. Once in a while, you might say, oh, I feel like being more accurate this time when I'm doing my drawing, so I'll try to make sure that my dark and lights in my drawing are as pretty accurate as I can get them. And then maybe other times you're just going to draw and just draw your your pencil lines and not do so much shading. It's all about how you feel. You're the artist. Some days you might be tired and you don't want to really get involved with doing shading, and you might just want to draw it quickly and get this basically the overall shape of it, and then you don't have to worry about it because these are just practice drawings. You take this drawing and at any point you want to just take a break or just say this is good enough, you put it in a folder and you save it. And we started out like this, I think. So now we can do some writing in here, and there is a little bit of an angle. I'm not going to, certain times I leave things out. I think I'm going to leave things out on this part here. I'm just going to put a little bit of something that looks like writing in here. Just some dots and dashes and things like that. And it's going to kind of go right around, following the lines like this. So some dashes and dots, and then you just pretend you're sort of seeing something and like that. So I'm putting just little small indications of writing, but we don't need to do every little bit of detail. We can just leave it like some dashes and dots and hash marks and like that. And there's another dark there, so it's the brand name of the tape that is here, and then it is over here again, and that's pretty much good. So I think this is fun. You can do some more shadowing too. There's a little bit of shadowing here and there, but I think this is fine. And we'll do maybe one more drawing. So we did our paintbrush first. We did our roll of tape. Let's do one more item, maybe a paint. Let's do a tube of paint. All right, so let me take another break, and we'll do a really fun one of our watercolor tubes. Okay, we're starting again. We're going to draw a paint tube. So we're going to have we're going to set this aside in a folder and save this. We'll check our folder, maybe 6 months from now and see our progress, look through our drawings. Then we'll take another brand new printer paper and we'll tape it down again. We say we want to have our paper not move. We want it to be in a fixed position like so, and that's what we're doing that carefully. Then I'm going to find a tube of paint. Okay, there we go. Tube of paint. This one's maybe a little crinkled up. Let's try one a little bit. This one looks a little better. These are always fun. All right, so maybe I can zoom in a little too. Let's try that. I can zoom in a little like so. Okay, we'll draw this just quickly here. We'll just do like a one-line drawing with maybe a little bit of shading, but we'll keep this one more simple. We're already working for quite a while now, maybe half an hour we've been drawing. So I always mention too, if you haven't subscribed yet, there's a subscribe button right on the bottom of the screen here. And I always encourage everyone, if you can subscribe, it's great. You won't lose me. You'll notice that when you subscribe. And also there's a notification bell. If you click on the notification bell, which is at the top, the very top bell, all it will do is actually the next time you open up YouTube, you'll see my video, my most recent video there. So it'll be like YouTube just likes to, if you like my channel and you like my content and painting and drawing and you're working with me and you're starting to work more frequently on your artwork, all YouTube will do is put my videos, in your homepage so that when you open up YouTube the next time, it'll automatically be there. and then you'll see my most recent video and what we're working on. So just a little quick tidbit of information. And thank you so much, too, for watching this time today and this evening or this morning or afternoon, whatever time you're watching. And I'm really happy that you're along with us here, and we're having a lot of fun. And we're always making videos every week, and we're doing all kinds of subject matter. We're drawing, we're painting in watercolor. We're also creating beautiful paintings with seascapes, landscapes, figure painting, flowers, still life. We do boat paintings. So we basically cover everything watercolor. So just glad you're here. And if you join along with us every week, you'll be certainly learning a lot of different material. And you just give it all a try. Certain subject matter you will like more than others, but it's good to practice all subject matter because it really rounds you out, makes you a better artist, and helps build your skills. So let's start with this here. We can actually create maybe, let's make this larger than what we see here. So I'm going to try to draw this a little larger. So if this paint tube is like this, obviously I can just move it over here and say, all right. Okay, you can do that if you want to make it a little larger in size. Just a rough, I did a very, very light sketch. You probably didn't see that, but I'm going to go use that right now and just create. I'll start at the top, actually. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to notice that the cap of the paint tube has got a little bit of an radius to it. And there's some, like that. Right away, I see there's striations on it. Then I notice that it goes in. It's got an indentation. It sets back where the actual threads are that connect to the metal tube. And then there's the other bottom portion of this white cap. And then you have the very, very top of the metal paint tube here, and it kind of flares out. Then I look and I say, how far does this flare out from the cap? And it's not that much, about 1/8 of an inch, but it is noticeable. So let's say if it's 1/8 of an inch, about that much. So that's about where it should be there, except it's not flaring out like that. It's tapering down straight. So I just want to make sure I get this straight like that. This over here is straight like this. So you can see it's kind of just tapering out like so. I wanted to make sure I captured that because this started to kind of, my angle was starting to drift off upwards. So I want to make sure I get that correct, because it really would look funny if I did it the other way. And then here I'm looking at this here now. So I'm going to say, what does that look like from where I'm standing? From where the camera shows it quite a bit of a curve to it, like this, like a curve going this way. You see that curve to that line over there? It's like a curve this way, almost like a C to that, like that soft curve. Where I'm looking at it standing at my table, it's more straight. So I'm going to do it the way I see it. I might add a little curve to it just to kind of keep it looking somewhat like this. So this looks a little bit like this, curved like that. Then from here, I can just follow this down and say it starts to slowly taper out this way. And then it gets to be straight. And then we have this bottom section here. And this is across like this. And then over here, we go back this way. And that's the tube of paint. And I realize it's flared out a little bit more here than it is here, but that's forgivable. This is okay. When you're doing drawings, when you're doing pencil drawings and practicing, it's all about, you try to get it as accurate as you can, but it's not always going to be as accurate as you like, or you'll step back and look at it and go, oh yeah, the angle's off or the curve's off, that's fine. It's just a matter of your eye, your eyesight and your brain and your hand, and how your drawing will get better and better over time. So it's just in the beginning, if you're just starting out, you know, don't worry about it. You just draw it as close as you can get it, and that's fine. And you just realize you're always going to get a little bit better every time you draw another sketch. So now here I'm going to go across this way and say, all right, there is a little bit of shadowing here, so I think I'm going to try to have some of that shadowing. I'll do it very lightly though. And then what I did notice here too is we have the blue paint color on the top of the tube with some of the writing. So let me notice how much that is. I can by eye say that it's about this much here. So it's not halfway down, obviously. It's more like a quarter or a third of the way. If I had to guess, it's probably a third of the way. We can kind of check that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's about a third of the way. So I just say 1, 2, 3. Yeah, third of the way, approximately. And there we have it. Then I'm just going to darken this up a bit. Why not? Let's use our China marker again. So I'm going to take my China marker and I'll trim off some of the pencil, the rope, the string on here. Trim off a little bit of the string so it doesn't get in the way as we're shading in. And let's just shade in this here. And this is automatically, you can see it's quite a bit darker than the silver tube. So we can automatically say, all right, that's pretty good. And I'm just shading it in. Then I'm saying over here, the white cap is pretty much, has a little bit of shadow underneath here. And that metal there is has a little bit of shade to it, but not too much. So I'll leave that light, pretty light like that, but I'll make sure this is dark. Like that. And then a little bit of shadowing here. Like this. And it's a little bit of shadow across here. Like that. And then there's a little shadowing here. And some more here. So you can just see I'm just doing a little bit of shadowing, trying to get this to look a little more interesting. When we add shadows, it does look more interesting. And that looks fine. And we'll do a little shadowing here. We'll put a little shadowing on where it this casts a shadow here underneath. So I can do that. And I just try to make it the shape of the cap here, and then it goes in. And then it comes out about this far, and then it tapers down. And a little darker there, maybe. And there is a shadow here from where I am looking at this. There's a shadow right here that goes across like so and meets up with this here. and it's darker. The shadow is a little darker under this portion here, and then it gets lighter as it goes out. So there's a little bit of a darker shadow there, and this one's pretty dark here too. All right. You can get a little fancier if you want and draw in some of the writing on here, or if you have another tube of paint with a different brand or something like that, you can have fun and draw that in with pencil across your tube. But I think this is good for now. I hope you had fun on this video. We're going to be doing more of these. I hope you'll enjoy it. I know not everyone likes to pencil draw that much, but trust me, if you're just doing this 10 or 15 minutes a day, like if you just did this one drawing 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to be 10 or 15 minutes better. And then the next day, another 10 or 15 minutes, you draw the roll of tape. You try that once. I've done 3 examples here, but you can break down your video and say, for the week, you're going to just try maybe one of each part of the video. So you'll try a roll of tape one day, maybe the tube of paint the next day, and then maybe you'll take one of your paintbrushes and you try that another day, and then maybe you might say, oh well, I really like doing the paintbrush, so I'm going to do that again. And then you have like 4 days there, and that's almost the whole week. And then maybe you take one day off if you have to, or you're not always going to be able to do it every day, but you try to do it every day if you can, and that's it. You'll be, really, really sharpening your skills as a watercolor artist, because your paintings are always going to look better if you can just quick render something nicely with some pencil. You don't have to be the greatest, drafter in the world and be able to draw perfectly, but if you can at least get some good angles down on your paper, no matter what you're going to draw, whether it's flowers or landscapes or trees or beaches or whatever it is, some clouds, if you can just have a little more comfortability with drawing, you'll feel so much better. And it takes time. Don't get frustrated at all, please. Don't get, thinking that you're gonna quit because it doesn't come out good. We all started with stick figures, so if you're drawing stick figures like this, that's fine. Everyone starts doing stick figures, and then you can say, oh, well, if I do stick figures, then I can do that, and say, well, here's a rib cage, and then here's a pelvis, and then there's one part of the leg and the other, and here's the arm like that, and the other arm like this. And then you're starting to build the human body, the human form, in its basic fundamental building blocks. So the stick figure actually is the perfect start. If you can draw a stick figure, then you can eventually, in a very short time, start to build drawing a figure like so. And you add on some feet and some hands. And a big smile. Happy painting and happy drawing, everybody. We'll see you soon.